is curious about these lawsuits that have been brought against podcasters and independent journalists. I'm thinking of Alex Jones, but also Candace Owens and the Brigitte Macron lawsuit and the Brian Harper lawsuit. So, who's Brian Harper? He was in charge of Charlie Kirk's security when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And as Candace Owens has been doing this investigation, she's been talking about Brian Harper, who now has recently started a lawsuit against her. One thing is common in these lawsuits that have been brought against high-profile podcasters. I've already mentioned a few. They don't dispute the claims that are being made. They don't argue that, in the case of Candace Owens, for example, that she was factually inaccurate. They argue that she's monetizing the news, that she's reporting this stuff in a scandalous way in order to make money. Now, that's very curious because nobody accuses CNN or Fox News or the BBC or France 24 or Al Jazeera of monetizing fake news, but maybe we should. I do. And it's this larger theme of ownership. Who owns the media? The aging dinosaur media has the sense of entitlement, or they really have a prideful and arrogant sense of entitlement that only they are able to decide the news that's worthy, all the news that's fit to print or fit to show. And anybody who finds stories that they haven't found, anybody who scoops them, then must be motivated by monetary concerns. I think maybe we should look at the way that CNN and BBC and the aging dinosaur media push these wars and push these narratives and help steer history and peddle on hijack narratives and pseudo events as a way to make money. And also make money for those industries that keep the dying dinosaur media propped up. Arms industries, pharmaceutical industries. Because if they told the truth for 1 week, those industries would be bankrupt forever. And we'd have a revolution on our hands if they just told the truth. Imagine, you play some David Icke, you throw up some Noam Chomsky, you show some political documentaries. It would change the world. So it's just this idea of trusting experts, and in the same way that there's this idea in medicine and science that everything is just homogenous, that kind of thing is applied also to news. But it's interesting that there's been many times where podcasters have actually broke stories that were initially dismissed as fake news, and the media would later have to come back and say, no, they scooped us. And vice versa. There's things that the media, CNN, BBC, Fox News, France 24, they present as scoops, but then later you find out it's just fake news. One man's conspiracy theory is another man's scoop, and vice versa. So we're entering in this new landscape where the dying dinosaur media no longer has a monopoly on information, and they no longer have a monopoly in terms of who gets to say what, and they're threatened by it. But it is interesting, as I've been following this court case with Candace Owens versus Brigitte Macron and the President of France, now this new one with the late Charlie Kirk's head of security. It is interesting that they don't even claim that what Candace Owens is saying is factually inaccurate. They just claim that she doesn't have a right to say it and it's harmful. In the case of the Alex Jones lawsuit, he wasn't even able to defend his words, to say how his words were accurate. So this is a brave new world that we're living in as they try to silence independent voices.